Hello everyone, and you're welcome back to Red Up Starter Camp. And this is our last session for the boot camp. So this is our first session, yeah, Monday. But this will be our this is the last week of our boot camp. This is the last week of our boot camp. So this is the fourth week, which is the final week of our boot camp. So we shall be looking at a very, or let me say, the most exciting part of our journey, which is the introduction to ethical hacking. And I know a lot of you guys might have been waiting for this all along, that let's just start this hacking, let's just start hacking. Yeah, but you should have it in mind that you start from the basics to breaches. So you don't just dive in like that. You start from the basics, from the foundations. So in our last class, we discussed about the OSI model, IP addressing, ports and protocols, TCP and UDP. So I didn't make a concise explanation on the TCP and UDP. So I've dropped a better explanation on the WhatsApp group. You should check it out if you haven't. So this time around, I've explained it bit by bit, so you can understand better what the TCP and UDP does, the transition control protocol and the user datagram protocol. So now I'm going to walk you through this ethical hacking. First of all, what do we understand by hacking itself? So hacking in the most basic form involves breaking into systems. Hacking involves breaking into systems, whether to find vulnerabilities, whether for monetary gain, whether for financial purpose, whether for revenge, whether for destruction, whether for anything. The thing is, you are breaking into systems. That is hacking. Now, what is ethical hacking? Ethical hacking involves legally breaking into systems to find vulnerabilities. Legally breaking into systems to find vulnerabilities. That is ethical hacking. And the purpose is to improve security, not to cause harm, not for destruction, not for revenge. So it is to improve security. And this ethical hacking is performed with permission under a code of conduct. They are performed under a code of conduct. Under a code of conduct, they are performed with permission. Without permission, you can't do ethical hacking. So you have to, actually, you have to ask for permission. You have to ask for the organization's content before you actually test their test their website or their servers or anything. So now that we've known what ethical hacking is, what you have to know next is to identify who and who, who is who in the hacker world. Who is who in the hacker world? So let's break down the hacker underworld, you know, from starting from the white hat. Mainly, you have just three types of hackers: the white hat hackers, the black hat, and the grey hat. Those are the three main types of hackers. But you also have other hackers, which are the script kiddies, the green hat, blue hat, red hat, the state sponsored hackers, the activists, and the insider threats, which are called the whistleblowers or the malicious insider. So now let's look at the white hat. The white hats, look at them as the ethical defenders. So these are the cyber heroes, these are the ethical hackers who help organizations. So the thing is, they legally hack into systems to find and fix security holes. They hack into systems to find vulnerabilities, to find loopholes, to find weaknesses, to find security holes, just like a security guard testing the locks before the robbers arrive. So that's what the white hat hacker does. And we have different different people in this white hat hacking, like the Kevin Mitnick. He was a black hat before, before becoming a top ethical hacker and consultant. And bug bounty hunters can also be referred to as the white hat. Are also referred to as white attackers. Also, the bug bounty hunters you see on Akawan or Trackly community. So those are your white attackers, and they use tools like Kali Linux, Bobsuit, Metasploit, with permission. Those are your white hat hackers. So we now have the black attackers. These are your outlaws. These are the outlaws. They break in without permission. They steal data. They crash systems or demand ransom. They are like the digital bandits. So then we have the grey attackers. These are the rebels in the middle. They are not white, they are not black, they are in the middle. They are the rebels in the middle. So they act without permission, but not always for evil. They act without permission, but not always for evil. So they might break into a system, then email the company that, hey, I just found the bug. I just found this bug. You're welcome. So that's grey attackers. They hack, but not with permission and not always with evil intention. So, and their motto is, I won't steal from you, but I might embarrass you. So those are the grey attackers. Now let's move to the script kiddies. So these are the copy and paste hackers. The copy and paste hackers. They don't really understand the mechanism behind hacking. They don't really understand how network flow. They don't really understand basic OSI modeling, IP addressing, TCP, UDP. They don't know how it works. So they don't really understand how the code works. So they just download tools online and follow YouTube tutorials to feel powerful. And in case you have a case whereby a teen in the UK, used a public DDoS attack tool, to take down his school's network and ended up in court. So these kids, they are more curious than dangerous, until they get caught. So those are the script kids. They don't understand the mechanism of things. They just download tools online and use. They don't really understand what's going on behind the scenes. So then we have the green attackers. So the green attackers are the curious apprentices, just like me and you. We are apprentices, we are curious. They are not there yet, but they are learning very fast. They are learning fast, and you will find them on platforms like TryHackMe, Hack the Box, Over the Wire, or even watching the Red Ops videos. So those are your green attackers. So they are not there yet, but they are learning fast. So they are infamous yet. They are infamous, but they are the next generation of defenders or attackers, and might actually be one right now. Then we have the blue attackers. So these are the bug bounty snipers or the revenge hackers. So they act for revenge. They act for revenge. So an example is a case whereby an organization fired an employee, who tried to crash their, and they fired an employee. Then that he has become an ex-employee. So he now tried to, to hack them back. So he's just out of revenge. So those are blue attackers. Then we have the red attackers. So these are the vigilantes. They don't report. They don't just report criminals. They don't just report the black hats. So they hunt them. They hack the hacker, destroy their tools, destroy their systems, destroy their servers, or even expose them publicly. So those are the vigilantes, the red attackers. They hunt the black attackers, they hunt the bad guys, and they don't report. They just work on their own, they hack on their own, they attack on their own, they hunt on their own. So, and again, an alleged case, whereby some security activists took down some phishing kits and ransomware C2 servers. So that's one kind of scenario. And their mindset is, breach I burn, breach I burn, and there are many for they mainly attack the black attackers. And with them, we have the activists. So these are the cyber protesters. They fight for political or social reasons. They fight for political or social causes. So not for money. They deface websites. They leak government secrets or take down injustice just as they see it. So and we have different types. We have different groups of activists. We have the anonymous. Whereby they leak their Scientology info, they attacked governments, they even supported global protests. We also have the LOSEC, the GOSEC, and others. So I think GOSEC targeted ISIS propaganda networks. Then you have the state or the nation sponsored hackers, the state sponsored hackers. So these are your cyber spies. These are cyber spies because these hackers, they don't work for themselves. They don't work for themselves. They work for the government. They work on behalf of government. So that's why cyber warfare is very, very real. It's real. And these folks play long games of espionage. They play long games of espionage. So and we have different groups. We have Lazarus group, which are linked to the North Korean government. We have the APT-29, which they are also referred to as the Cozy Bear. I think they are linked to the Russian intelligence, FSB, KGB, and co. So yeah, then we also have the TAO, the NSA. So these are the US offensive cyber units. So these state nation sponsored hackers are the shadow operatives of the cyberspace. Are the shadow operatives of the cyberspace. Then we come to the insider threats. These are the malicious insider or the traitors within. They are also referred to as the whistleblowers. So they are already in the system. It might be an employee, it might be your contractor, it might be even your admin, your administrator. So, but they betray this trust, they betray the trust and leak, sabotage or steal data. So those are the traitors within. So I just want you to know, hacking isn't always about good versus evil, black versus white, red versus blue. It's about your intent, legality, and ethics behind what you do. The motivation behind it, the intent, the legality, and the ethics. So that's what hacking is all about. And in this boot camp, you are learning how to think like a hacker, to defend like a professional. So now that we've known this, let me walk you through the most important concepts of in this presentation, which is the ethical hacking process, the ethical hacking methodology. So you don't just say you want to hack. No, it has a structured process, and this process consists of several defined phases that ethical hackers follow, to test and evaluate the security of a system in a structured and legal way. So let's begin with the first phase. These are the phases of hacking. Basically, these are the phases: reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and covering tracks. That's just your default hacking methodology. Now, in ethical hacking, we have 6 months. So ethical hackers need to move a step forward, which is the reporting stage. Reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, covering tracks, and reporting. So reporting is the last stage, for ethical hackers. Now let's look at what reconnaissance does. So reconnaissance is also referred to as the information gathering. So in this step, the ethical hacker collects as much information as possible about the target system or organization. So this might include identifying domain names, IP addresses, the network infrastructure, even employee details and more. So the purpose is to collect as much information as possible about the target system. And information in the reconnaissance stage can either be passive or active. It can either be passive or active, and it can be passive by browsing publicly available websites, using Google, and it can be active like performing a ping sweep. You so and they often use tools like Google docking techniques. They also have the Shodan, the Montego. So this step helps the hacker, to understand the attack surface of the target. So that's the information gathering stage. They gather as much information as possible about the target system. Now that leads us to the scanning stage. After you've gathered enough information about your target, what you want to do is to dig deeper. So now that we know the targets, we use scanning tools to find open ports, to find open services and vulnerabilities, to find running services and potential vulnerabilities in the system. So, and there are different types of scanning. We have the network scanning, port scanning, vulnerability scanning. So, and we use tools like Nmap to help identify active hosts and services, while lasers can detect known vulnerabilities. So think of this phase as mapping out the battlefield before engaging. You don't just want to go into the battlefield. No, you're gonna have to research, gather information firstly about your target. Then next we do is to map out your target, scan it. You want to know the vulnerabilities, the loopholes in the system. You want to know what what ports and protocols is opened on the system before you attack. So now we move to the gaining access. So this is the exploitation phase. So this is the core of penetration testing, using the information we gather to exploit a vulnerability and gain unauthorized access. So techniques here might include exploiting with passwords, SQL injection in web apps or misconfigured firewall. So I use tools like Metasploit rather, or Hydra. So these are commonly used for exploitation. So it's important to remember that this is done in a controlled and professional environment with permission. So the purpose of actually exploiting is to use the vulnerabilities gained to gain unauthorized access to systems. So this is your exploitation phase. So after you've exploited the system, what you are going to do next is to maintain access. This is persistence. So in a real world attack, once the hacker is in, they want to stay in. No, they are not going anywhere. They are there. They are going to stay there. So ethical hackers simulate this by checking if it's possible to install the backdoor or keep persistent access. So again, this is purely for testing, to help organization understand the risk of long-term compromise if the breach isn't detected quickly. And the hackers, ethical hackers, maintain access through planting backdoors, planting rootkits, or even creating admin users inside the systems. So, but you should know this is done in a controlled and simulated environment. And the purpose of persistence, maintain access in the system is to keep access, to the system for future use or for future attacks also. And after you maintain access, you've gathered information, you've scanned your targets, you've exploited, you've gained access, you've maintained access. What you want to do next is to what? To cover your tracks, to hide evidence, to clear logs and history. So malicious hackers often erase logs, they delete accounts or even spoof IP addresses to avoid detection. So ethical hackers may make this to help companies evaluate whether such activities would go unnoticed. So, however, in ethical hacking, this is simulated only and never performed in a destructive way. So, and the purpose of covering tracks is to erase footprints and avoid detection. You know, and it can come through many methods like clearing logs, disabling, auditing, or spoofing IPs, spoofing IP address. So it's important to note that ethical hackers do this in simulations only. And you can see it here. The hacker is actually clearing his tracks. So he's actually clearing his logs here. He's clearing his logs and history. So you can see the evidence in the bin. So that's what we call covering tracks. So in hacking, basically, this is where your activity stops. But in ethical hacking, you have to take a step further. So this is the reporting stage, the reporting phase. So in reporting, the ethical hacker creates a detailed report, outlining all the vulnerabilities found, the methods used to exploit them, and most importantly, recommendations and remediations, on how to fix or mitigate the issues found. So at this stage, vulnerabilities are also ranked using the common vulnerability scoring system. That's what we call the CVSS. Okay, the CVSS, the common vulnerability scoring system. So this scoring system helps classify each vulnerability as critical, high, medium, low, based on how severe and exploitable it is. So, and this allows security teams to prioritize which issues need immediate attention and which ones can be scheduled for later remediation. So, the purpose of reporting is to document all the findings and provide the recommendations, to fix those vulnerabilities found. And this reporting phase is done by hackers. They present this to the security teams, to the management of an organization, and this includes rather the vulnerabilities found, how they did it and co. So, and you can see here, from here you have they are classified here based on their severity. From if you actually do this using the CVSS and you see something like 9 to 10, you should know that's a critical vulnerability and need immediate attention. You can see I 7.0 to 8.9, but if you see something like 0.0, 0.1 to 3.9, I think these vulnerabilities can be scheduled you know, for later remediation. So that's your reporting stage. The CVSS is called Common Vulnerability Scoring System. So in summary, the ethical hacking process follows a structured path, from gathering information to assessing severity or and helping secure the organization. So following this process ensures that the engagement is legal, ethical, and results driven. And these are the skills and tools used by ethical hackers. So skills, as an ethical hacker, you have to have an in-depth knowledge of networking. Sincerely speaking, computer networking is really, really very, very key. Without networking knowledge, you can't know what port and ports what port is this, which protocols is this, why are we why should we gain access to this port, why shouldn't we use this tag? So you won't know. So you have to have this networking knowledge. You have to have this networking knowledge. You also have to be confident using Kali Linux, rather. So you have to be confident using that, and you also have to have the knowledge of scripting, your Python or Bash scripting. So that's an added advantage for hackers. And you have to have this problem solving mindset and attention to detail. Attention to detail is key also. And also communication skill, when you're in the reporting phase, you don't want to start hiccuping to your you want to bring it down to the management level, to what a non-technical person can understand. So you have to have this communication skill. And we also have tools used by the hackers. You have the nmap, I've said before, nmap. Wireshark is used for network and traffic analysis. Metasploit is used for exploitation. Bob suits are used for the web applications also. And the John Ripper is a strong password cracking tool. So these are the tools used by ethical hackers. So, and that comes to the end of our of today's session on introduction to SQL. So in our next class, we will be looking into detail how to set up our virtual environments for practice, how to download and install our virtual machine. We will be looking at the installation and downloading of our Kali Linux operating system, and how to mount it on our virtual machine. And lastly, I will be walking you through various Kali Linux basic commands, and then we'll wrap it up. So yeah, so that's it for today. That's it for today. Don't forget, always have it in your mind, from basics to breaches. You actually have to understand the underlying mechanism before you move on to more advanced or even intermediate level. So that's it for today, and thank you for joining this session. Thank you very much. So on Thursday, I'm going to show you live, or it's also going to be in this recorded version also. So now you install your Kali Linux and others. So thank you.